You've ordered this distance driver that's supposed to let you finally reach that super far par 3 or par 4 in your local course. It's got this nice pop top, but then it arrives in the mail and it comes out like this, just super flat. And it is commonly deemed, I guess, that more dome increases the glide and distance of a driver, which is why a lot of people want domey drivers instead of flat drivers, especially if they're a backhand player. So now you got this flat driver that doesn't do you any good. Instead of returning it, putting it back on a shelf, or letting it collect dust, we can try and use the boiling water method to see if it really will add dome and glide and distance to a disc. To introduce you to our test subject disc today, we have this old purple G-Blend Emperor from Infinite weighing in at 169 grams. As you can see, it seems to be pretty flat, very little dome. The only dome that you can see is from the thin flight plate, from my finger pushing underneath it. Got some wear on the edge, making this a flippy Emperor. And that is reinforced when we look at the flight of the disc, which let's do that now. In relatively no wind at sea level, I put this Emperor on a slight amount of hyzer, and it flips all the way over, gives me a big old turn, and a tiny bit of comeback right at the end for a really nice max distance flight, despite there being no dome. But what if adding dome made it go even further? Which brings us to the method of adding dome. Welcome to the kitchen. Let's present the items. So you're obviously going to need your disc that you want to modify. You're going to need a small pot for boiling water. Since the underside of the disc, since it's flat, there's really not much room there, so you don't need a big pot. You don't really need a big pot, just something really small. And then for your bowl, you want your bowl, hopefully I can show this, you want your bowl, the edges of your bowl, to line up where the rim and the flight plate meet, because you want the water to push down the flight plate into the bowl. And obviously you're going to need a stove top, electric, gas, whatever, doesn't matter. Let's begin. This should be pretty simple. Let's boil some water. So here we have our water. You really don't need a lot. Just a little bit of water will do the trick. Place it on your stove top, of course. Start that puppy. And now we wait. Okay, so we're back in my room just because I don't want anyone else in the house messing with my little experiment here. And also, if you were just to walk in and you see a disc with boiling water in it, that'd just be a little weird. And as soon as it's centered, just flip it over so the disc is facing upside down so the water can come in. And now I'm gonna come in with the boiling water and pour it, and we'll see what happens. Here we are with our boiling water, and we're gonna pour it. This might go badly. I'd recommend you keep this in your kitchen. Maybe do it in the sink. But we're gonna pour that water onto that bad boy. Try and get it roughly to the top. I don't think it has to be perfectly to the top. And you can see that steaming water right on up there. Gonna get a little more in. Really utilize the surface tension. Alrighty, after I have poured in my water with a little bit of spillage, I have to clean that up. But essentially what should be happening is the heat of the water should be softening up the flight plate, causing it to push down under the gravity and the weight of the water. And then when the water loses heat eventually and changes to more of that room temperature, the flight plate should harden, and combined with the weight of the water and now the chill of it, it should harden up the flight plate, creating a new dome. So when you take the disc out after a while, I'm going to leave this overnight. It should have a domey disc. We'll see if this works.
Tomorrow.
Okay, so it is the next morning. My disc is set. Water is ice cold. In fact, I threw in 1 or 2 ice cubes just to make sure the water gets really cold so that the flight plate really hardens and it stays, so it doesn't maybe revert back to its normal form. And if I run my finger along, it does seem like the edges are significantly higher than the middle of the dome of the flight plate, which would mean that this has maybe worked. So let's do what might not be the most difficult part for me, since I'm not doing it in a sink or the kitchen. A lot of the times the disc is going to stick to the bowl. As you can see, I'm literally picking up the disc and the bowl is staying with it. And this is very delicate just because you have, a lot of water in the bowl. So you gotta pick it up on one edge like so. Slowly slide it across and confidently pour the water back into the bowl is what I'm gonna do. And let's see the results. Okay, so as you can see, hopefully some dome was added. It's by no means a ridiculous pop top, but compared to what it was before, it definitely gained a bit of dome. And the dome actually seems to be pretty close to centered, which is pretty awesome. And overall, I would give it a pretty good success. So yeah, and then like that is a dome. Oh wait, I have a mic on, hold on. That's a heartbeat dome. It definitely has more dome than it did. So let's take this out to the field and see how it flies and if it flies any differently. Alrighty, so final conclusions. I would say that this method of the boiling water to add dome to the flight plate worked moderately. So when I first took the disc, this Emperor, out of the bowl, it did have quite a bit more dome than it originally did. But after throwing it in the field, it kind of seemed to lose a little bit of it, but for the most part, it seems like most of it stayed. And in terms of the flight, it didn't really seem to change that much in terms of the distance, but I think the biggest thing that changed was, in fact, the stability, which is not what I was expecting. The first day, the first throw, there was absolutely no wind and it was hot as heck out. And when I threw it, as we all remember, it hyzer flipped, turned for a really long time, and faded to, in terms of distance, I think about the 420, 430 mark. Granted, this is a max distance bomber for me, so that isn't something I would normally do on the course. But anyways, when I threw this today into a windier day, mostly flat into a left to right wind, and it seemed to turn less than it did with no wind. So I would say it kind of gained a little bit of stability, which is not what I was expecting. So overall, this method of boiling water does work to a point. I think if you want more of an effect, just simply do it again and again. Do it like 2 or 3 times. I might try this one more time just to get a little bit more dome, just because again it seemed to have lost a little bit of it. If you maybe tried this method and you have your own results to speak of, feel free to leave a comment down below. I would really like to see if other people have similar results than I did, or maybe different. Maybe I did something wrong, maybe I did. Alright, just a quick post video note. I did the method, the boiling water method, one last time, and the Emperor took just a little more dome to it. This is pretty close to a pop top, kind of exactly what I wanted. So if you did the boiling water method and you weren't super happy with the results, maybe you only got a little bit of dome and you want more, just do it again. It should work. Make sure to let the disc sit in the cold water for a while so the dome holds, so it doesn't go back to its original form. And honestly, maybe even experiment with throwing some ice in the water to make it even colder, to make the flight plate even stiffer so the dome holds better. So just a quick extra note for the end of the video. So yeah, have a good one. Peace.